Most Harley engines don't die from one big mistake. They die from small, quiet ones that start before 30,000 miles and don't show up until you're staring at a $4,000 to $8,000 repair bill. Riders are told factory service intervals are enough. That's why so many bikes never make it past 150,000 miles. In this video, you'll learn the 13 habits that separate an 80,000-mile bike from a 300,000-mile one. Watch till the end, because the last one is the mistake that costs riders the most money. Number 13. Intake, seal, and vacuum leak. Inspection. Climbing past 100,000 miles is not about luck. It is about catching small failures before they turn expensive. I have torn down enough twin cams and Milwaukee 8 engines to see the pattern early. Intake leaks are one of the quiet starters. Riders rarely notice them until heat damage is already underway. Intake seals sit between the manifold and cylinder, heads exposed to constant vibration, fuel vapor, and thermal expansion. Over time, rubber hardens and shrinks. Unmetered air enters the combustion chamber, leaning the mixture and raising internal temperature. Inspect every 20,000 miles, especially if you ride in traffic or hot climates. Watch for hanging idle, popping on deceleration, uneven RPM at stoplights, or sudden surging at steady throttle. Replacing seals often costs under $150. Ignoring a lean condition can lead to burned valves or piston damage exceeding $1,500. Performance air cleaners and exhaust upgrades increase sensitivity to leaks, so modified bikes require even closer monitoring. Use a smoke test or light spray around the intake while idling and listen for RPM change. A tiny air gap today can become a costly rebuild tomorrow, and the next failure hides even more quietly. Number 12. Annual charging system output test. Voltage failure rarely arrives with drama. It drifts. I have seen charging systems weaken for months before a rider ever notices. The battery compensates. The regulator runs hotter. The stator output slips a fraction at a time. By the time the bike refuses to start, multiple components are already stressed. Here's the trap. Because the bike still starts, riders assume everything is fine. It is not. Electrical decline hides in plain sight. Test output once every year or every 10,000 miles. With the engine warm, you should see roughly 13.8 to 14.5 volts at cruising RPM. If readings fall below 13.5 underload, the system is already slipping. Watch for flickering lights, slow crank after short rides, random dash resets, or intermittent fault codes. Dealer advice often waits for failure. Real-world ownership prevents it. A 5-minute multimeter check costs nothing. A stator replacement can exceed $250. Add a regulator, battery, and tow, and you are staring at a $1,000 cascade. Electrical systems fail quietly. The next component on this list does the opposite. It announces its stress through feel. If this breakdown is helping you think differently about long-term Harley ownership, support the channel by liking this video and subscribing for more deep mechanical insights. Share below how many miles are on your bike and what you've replaced so far. Number 11. Fork oil replacement. Front suspension fluid lives under constant stress. Every ride compresses and rebounds the forks thousands of times, building internal heat. That repeated thermal cycling shears the oil, thinning its viscosity long before a leak ever appears. The damping fades gradually, not dramatically. This is where riders get fooled. The bike still feels stable enough, so service gets pushed back. That delay quietly accelerates internal bushing and seal wear. Replace fork oil every 25,000 to 30,000 miles. Sooner if you tour 2 up, or carry luggage regularly. Watch for excessive brake dive, vague steering feedback, chatter over small bumps, or slight seal seepage. If you wait for obvious leakage, you are already behind. A routine fluid service may cost under $200. A full fork rebuild with seals and bushings can run $800 to $1,200. Contaminated oil does not scream for attention. It slowly changes how the front end behaves. Lift the front safely, drain completely, measure the correct volume, refill with the specified weight, and torque evenly. Heat builds quietly here. The next failure does not. Number 10. Brake fluid. Flush. Brake fluid does not fail from mileage alone. It fails from chemistry. Over time, it absorbs moisture through hoses and seals, lowering its boiling point and introducing internal corrosion inside calipers and anti-lock modules. The change is invisible until braking performance shifts under heat. This is where riders underestimate the risk. The lever. still feels firm in casual riding, so service gets postponed. Flush the system every 2 years, regardless of mileage. If the bike lives in humid conditions or sees frequent rain, shorten that interval. Watch for a softer lever feel, dark fluid in the reservoir, inconsistent response after repeated hard stops, or a spongy pedal under load. If you notice those signs, you are already past ideal timing. A fluid flush often costs under $150. Replacing a seized caliper or damaged anti-lock control unit can exceed $1,500. That difference comes from moisture buildup, not aggressive riding. You do not need a full shop setup. All that's required is fresh fluid, a basic brake bleeder kit, clear hose, and a wrench that fits the bleeder screws. Stopping power protects you. What protects the engine from silent timing failure is next. Number 9. Cam chain. Tensioner inspection. If you ride a twin cam past 30,000 miles without inspecting the cam chain, tensioners, you are taking a mechanical risk most riders do not even realize exists. I have opened enough cam chests to see the same pattern. Engines that ran fine with tensioner shoes worn nearly through. Here's where riders get blindsided. The bike still starts. It still pulls. There is no dramatic warning. Once the plastic shoe thins out, the chain begins cutting into metal. Slack increases. Cam timing shifts. If the chain jumps even one tooth, valves can contact pistons. That is not gradual wear. That is instant escalation. Inspect between 20,000 and 30,000 miles. Look for debris in the oil filter, metallic dust in the cam chest, or unusual ticking from the right side of the engine. If you wait for loud noise, you have already allowed damage to progress. A proactive tensioner replacement may cost $600 to $1,000. A full timing failure rebuild can reach $4,000 to $6,000. Number 8. Fuel filter service. Fuel delivery is not just about horsepower. It is about safety margin under load. I have torn down enough twin cams and Milwaukee 8 engines to see how restricted fuel flow quietly raises combustion heat long before a rider notices anything wrong. The engine keeps running. That is the illusion. Here's where riders get fooled. Because it doesn't stall, they assume pressure is fine. It isn't. Service the in-tank fuel filter every 30,000 to 40,000 miles, especially if the bike sits with ethanol blended fuel. Watch for hesitation at wide open throttle, surging at steady highway speed, longer crank times, or a faint whining sound from the fuel pump. If you wait for a no-start condition, you waited too long. The cost contrast is simple. A filter replacement usually runs under $200. Let restriction continue and the pump overheats, pushing replacement costs into the $800 to $900 range. Number 7. Primary fluid service. The primary always gives a warning before it gives a bill. I have torn down enough twin cams and Milwaukee 8 primaries to see the pattern repeat. Riders describe a harmless clunk, and inside, the compensator ramps are already wearing unevenly. That sound is not character, it is impact stress. Most riders do the opposite. They ignore it because the bike still shifts smoothly. Change primary fluid every 5,000 to 10,000 miles, especially if you ride 2-up, launch aggressively, or run torque-heavy upgrades. Listen for a sharp clunk when engaging first gear, rattling at idle with the clutch released, or a harsher than normal takeoff feel. If vibration gradually increases, internal cushioning is already degrading. Here's the cost contrast. A routine fluid change often runs under $100. Let compensator wear continue, and repairs can climb into the $800 to $1,500 range. If metal debris circulates too long, clutch plates and the basket can suffer as well. All you need is a drain pan, basic sockets, a torque wrench, and the correct fluid specification. Noise is information. Mechanical systems speak before they fail. And in a moment, I'll show you the service rider's skip that slowly drains money without making a sound. Number 6. Transmission. Fluid discipline. Transmission failure is rarely dramatic. It is a financial decision made slowly. I have torn down enough twin cam and Milwaukee 8 gearboxes to recognize the pattern. Early fluid stretched too long, gear faces pitted, bearings worn, long before a rider ever hears a whine. The damage was preventable. Here's the mistake riders make. Because the bike still shifts, they assume the fluid is still protecting. It isn't. Dealer intervals often push longer service windows. Real-world longevity demands tighter ones. Replace transmission fluid every 15,000 to 20,000 miles. Sooner if you tow, ride aggressively, or install high-torque performance parts. Watch for notchy engagement into second gear, subtle resistance during downshifts, or a faint, steady-speed gear hum. If shifting feels slightly different, that is already your early warning. The cost contrast is blunt. A fluid change runs under $150. A rebuild can exceed $2,500. If bearing damage compounds, the total climbs even higher. Drain warm. Inspect the magnetic plug carefully. That's the part most riders skip refill. With manufacturer-specified fluid and torque properly. All you need is basic sockets, a drain pan, and a torquer wrench. Gear wear builds quietly, and the next item affects engine survival even faster than worn gears ever could. Number 5. Oil strategy for air-cooled engines. Oil breakdown in an air-cooled. Harley is not about the number printed in the manual. It is about how you ride. I have torn down enough twin cams and Milwaukee 8 top ends to see the pattern traffic heat. Short trips and extended idling thin oil far sooner than riders expect. The engine still runs strong. That is what makes it dangerous. Here's the illusion. The oil looks fine on the dipstick, so riders stretch the interval. If you ride in stop and go traffic, hot climates, or make frequent short trips, change oil every 3,000 to 5,000 miles instead of pushing longer factory suggestions. Watch for faster than normal oil darkening, louder top-end ticking, rising idle temperatures, or a stronger burnt smell after shutdown. If you wait for performance loss, internal wear has already started. The cost difference is simple. An oil and filter change often costs under $100. Accelerated cam, lifter, or valve train wear can turn into a $3,000 to $4,000 top-end repair. Use quality oil designed for air-cooled engines, replace the filter every time, and track both mileage and calendar time. All you need is a drain pan, correct filter wrench, and torque wrench. Oil timing is discipline, not convenience. And the next habit involves heat, in a way most riders completely underestimate. Number 4. Airflow and oil cooler cleaning. Air-cooled Harleys survive on airflow. Block that airflow and heat stacks fast. I have seen engines that were tuned correctly and serviced on time still suffer premature wear because cooling fins and oil coolers were packed with debris. The rider blamed mileage. The real cause was trapped heat. Here's the part riders overlook. The bike still runs strong, so cooling gets ignored. Inspect and clean cooling fins and the oil cooler at least once every season, or every 5,000 miles, if you ride in dusty or high heat environments. Watch for unusually high idle temperatures, sharper exhaust smell after shutdown, increased pinging under light throttle, or oil thinning faster than normal. If you wait until it overheats in traffic, you are already behind. Cleaning costs little more than time and mild degreaser. Neglect can escalate toward warped cylinder heads, scored cylinder walls, or premature valve guide wear, pushing repairs into the $3,000 range or more. All you need is low-pressure water, soft brushes, compressed air, and patience. Avoid high-pressure spray that bends fins. Environmental overload shortens engine life quietly. And the next item proves that sometimes the smallest adjustment determines whether parts wear evenly or burn money. Number 3. Clutch free play. And hydraulic health. Clutch damage does not begin with failure. It begins with misadjustment. I have inspected enough clutch packs across twin cams and Milwaukee 8 models to see the same pattern plates glazed, fibers thinned, baskets grooved, long before riders realized anything was wrong. The lever still felt normal. Here's where riders get it wrong. Because the bike moves and shifts, they assume the clutch is fine. Check clutch free play every 10,000 miles, and sooner if you ride 2-up or run torque-heavy performance upgrades. For cable systems, maintain slight lever slack. For hydraulic setups, monitor fluid clarity and engagement consistency. Watch for rising engine RPM without matching acceleration, difficulty finding neutral, harsh takeoff feel, or a faint burnt smell after aggressive riding. If you wait for slipping under heavy throttle, internal wear has already accelerated. The cost contrast is straightforward. Adjustment costs nothing but time. Replacing a worn clutch pack can range from $700 to $1,000. Continued riding with slippage can damage the basket or hub, increasing repair costs further. All you need is basic wrenches, correct adjustment specs, and periodic inspection. Mechanical wear rewards attention. And the next item affects something riders care about, even more than performance long-term value. Number 2, maintenance log discipline. Value does not disappear when a part breaks. It disappears when there is no proof. I have watched buyers walk away from strong-running Harleys simply because there was no documentation. The engine sounded healthy. The price still dropped. Here's the mistake. Riders remember the work, but never record it. Track every oil change, fluid service, adjustment, and major repair with mileage and date. Keep receipts, photograph upgrades, note part numbers. Do this from the first 5,000 miles onward. When service history is clear, buyers pay more and question less. If records are missing, they assume deferred maintenance, even if it never happened. The money difference is real. A well-documented Harley can command $2,000 to $4,000 more than an identical bike without records. That gap has nothing to do with chrome or paint. It reflects trust. All you need is a small notebook or a phone app, plus a folder for receipts. Riders who install performance cams, suspension kits, or tuning upgrades should document details clearly, because undocumented modifications reduce buyer confidence. Mechanical discipline protects parts. Documentation protects value, and the final habit determines whether all of this effort actually translates into engine longevity. Number 1, proper tuning and lean condition prevention. Combustion temperature determines whether your engine survives or slowly destroys itself. I have torn down enough twin cams and Milwaukee 8 engines to see the same pattern-burned exhaust valves, pitted piston crowns, ringlands, cracked long before riders expected trouble. The common factor was lean tuning. Here's where riders gamble. They install high-flow intakes, freer exhaust systems, or performance cams, and assume the factory map will compensate. It often does not. After any airflow modification, verify air-fuel ratios with proper equipment. Risk can begin under 20,000 miles if mixture runs lean under load. Watch for pinging during light throttle, excessive heat at idle, white or blistered spark plugs, or sudden surging at steady speed. If you wait for power loss, damage is already forming. The cost difference is blunt. A professional dyno tune may cost $500 to $800. Burned valves and piston damage can escalate into $4,000 to $8,000 rebuilds. All you need is proper diagnostic equipment, a qualified tuner, and periodic plug inspection. Oil, cooling, and maintenance discipline matter. But if combustion chemistry is wrong, everything else is fighting. Heat, control the burn, and 300,000 miles becomes realistic. If you stick to even half of these habits, you don't just save money, you avoid the failures that quietly end engines early. Long life isn't luck. It's discipline, timing, and refusing to ignore small warnings. If this breakdown helped you think differently about your Harley, make sure you're subscribed. In the next video, I'll show you the simple thing that makes your Harley engine run like new again, and why most riders accidentally do the opposite and shorten its life without realizing it.